What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and today I'd like to talk about my album of the week, an album I absolutely love that I've listened to quite a lot these past 5, 6 days. Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Theory, their self-titled album, called Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Theory. I think this is Sharon's 7th album. This is very much a full band effort. Musically, this thing is absolutely phenomenal. A lot of synths, a lot of electronic drums. I think there's the Bjork effect, I think, is in effect on a lot of this album, where we have this sort of artificial, synthetic, electronic drum machine, drum percussion, electronic percussion atmosphere. There is some guitar. There's some really fantastic bass work on here. So there are some analog instruments introduced, but there is a very synthesizer effect, a lot of synth samples and synth loops that will background a song. But the Bjork effect comes in because her voice, even though the music can sound cold and impersonal and at times alien, the existence of Sharon's voice and that sort of airy, whispery delivery that can get gritty and can get a little more forceful when she wants to, brings like a humanity to everything that just makes it work. And the contrast between the music, which has a warmth to it, despite the fact that it is all like a lot of synthesizers, a lot of electronics, has a definite warmth to it. But her voice just makes it all the more special. There's some krautrock in here. One of the songs straight off sounds like a new N-E-U exclamation point. Sounds like it could be a song off their first album. We get some post-punk action in a lot of the songs. Just a really, really fantastic album. Both what is being brought musically. There's a song that kind of sounds like Blondie, like kind of reminds me a little bit of Heart of Glass, but not exactly. Doesn't particularly sound like a Blondie song, but if Blondie was even to dip their toes further into like disco back in the late 70s, this could have been a song Blondie had done. One of the songs on here. There's just a lot of really fantastic stuff. Kind of a chill album, but there are some really upbeat, fun things on here. Kind of moody, but at the same time, there's some good energy. Kind of all over the map as you want a good album to be, but at the same time, centered around her voice, which is just has this airy expressiveness to it. Phenomenal album. Opens up with Live Forever, which she says over and over and over again. Who wants to live forever? It doesn't matter. It starts with this just simple synth riff that just gets repeated as she comes in and goes, who wants? And she just sings, who wants to live forever? And then you get some electronic drums come in, the repetition and the intensity slowly builds. And then finally you get like a full band drop with what sound like analog drums and analog bass. And it just feels like this really, it's like 5.5 minutes long. It slowly builds the entire time. It feels very much like a grand statement opening song. Like it is the perfect opener that ushers you into this world, gives you a little bit of flavor of everything that's going to be done over the course of the next 40 minutes, and then just kind of leaves you feeling good, but at the same time questioning who does want to live forever. Afterlife, apparently it's about someone she lost, someone close to her, about seeing them in the afterlife. Will you see me in the afterlife? Will it feel like coming home? Not the most upbeat song. Starts off with a little bit of electronic percussion, but we're a little more low key, a little more not as intense as the opening track. But the synths come in, there's a bass drum drop, things kind of build over the course of the song. The chorus itself is a little bigger vibe. There's not a lot of verse, chorus, solo break, verse, chorus action in a lot of these songs. A number of these songs, even this one, I say the chorus sounds bigger, but I'm not sure it exactly is a chorus. A lot of these songs just have these grooves to them, and she's just singing over these grooves, and it's not really structured in any sort of traditional rock format. But there's just layers of sound. Listening to this on the headphones is just an incredibly rich experience because the production, the electronics that are being used, the synthesized sounds that are being used are just sound amazing, sound absolutely wonderful. Idiot Box, straight up krautrock. straight up this guitar vibe, and it sounds like a Noir song, NEU exclamation point. Could be off their first album. There's an urgency to her vocals. It just continues with this krautrock vibe for the 4+ minutes. Oh, absolutely amazing song. And the sequencing on here is really good because the first two songs are have a lot more of an electronic presence, a lot more of like a Bjork era type stuff. And then this one we get into like a little more of a rock energy, a legitimate rock energy, krautrock energy. Treble, bass. I think it's a analog bass. If it's a synthesized bass, it sounds pretty real. It's like the intro. This like low key bass intro is what's driving the song. The vocals are kind of airy. This is a little more low key, but that bass, it's just gives it this like sultrier vibe. That's absolutely awesome. The song Trouble. Indio is the city where Coachella is. This is like a 2.5 minute sort of post-punk, not pop, maybe a post-punk rock single that seems like it would be huge at Coachella. This to me, it's called Indio. It fits perfectly with the quote unquote Coachella vibe. I think Van Etten's played there a couple times. I can't imagine why you feel this way is the dance track on here. This is the one that I think Blondie would have dropped had Blondie devoted an album just doing disco. The bass playing on this is fantastic. The opening lines are about being travelers on a train where there's murderers and screams. So even though you're moving and you're dancing and we're flirting with a hardcore disco vibe, the lyrics are darker. Yeah, I can't imagine why you would feel this way when there's murderers and screams on the train. But the dance groove is absolutely fantastic. Something Ain't Right, another bass-driven song, a little more low-key than the dance, but still kind of upbeat. Flirts with krautrock. We're not quite at that krautrock, but we're flirting with just getting a nice steady groove going. This is one, Something Ain't Right. Depending on where you stand in 2025 in the United States, this one could be like an anthem. Something Ain't Right. Do you believe in compassion for your enemies? It ends with this refrain, Talking Heads reference, same as it ever was, same as it ever was. So even though things are wrong, there's sort of this resignation, like, hey, it's always been this way. There's a legitimate guitar solo in here, like a legitimate guitar solo break in here. I just thought that was interesting. Don't get a lot of like legitimate guitar solos in modern post-punk albums. Southern Life, What It Must Be Like. This is a bigger drum sound. This is more of like a steady rock sound to it. The vocals are really slow and drawn out. It's like the opening line is all my life I close my eyes, but it's like, all my life I closed my eyes. And it's just the whole thing is kind of done with that. Like, I think she speeds up at some point, but it's done with that. And the drums and the band's just kind of pounded along with her. Cool song. Musically, it's just a groove, and she's just like in the pocket, dropping these vocals. The last two songs both start off in a much more chiller vibe and build really nicely. Fading Beauty doesn't build as intensely as the last song, but it is literally just a series of 1 to 4 word phrases that she just repeats as the music just like adds layers and layers of pretty chill sound. We start with just some synth, some super airy, but kind of hushed, but kind of serious vocals. And then just other instruments start to come in as it kind of builds and builds and builds and builds. This song had David Byrne sung it and maybe had a little bit more of a darker undertone, I think would have fit really well on like the last third of Remain in Light. It has that sort of like building vibe and atmosphere to it. And then the closing song, I Want You Here, is another one which just like the volume slowly builds. You got this almost pounding drum sound. It's not like a relentless Santana pounding drum, but this almost like sparse, repetitive drum with these sort of synth waves that float over. The title, I Want You Here, I think it's about a loss. This is not a happy song. It's not like, hey, I want you here, let's have a good time. It's like, I want you here, I miss you. I want you in the mountains. I want you in the desert. I want you everywhere. I want you on the stage. I want you here. There's a sadness to this. And as the song goes, more and more instruments come in, and the drums, as they come in, It reminds me of Florence and the Machine's Dog Days. Is that the song? The Dog Days Are Here. That kind of pounding beat. We never get that full like pounding release because this person she wants is not here. So that release kind of doesn't happen. But the song does build an intensity, and that pain and that aching that she's singing about gets conveyed through the building intensity of the music. Yeah, that's it. It's 10 songs. I think it's like just over 40 minutes or so. There's not a weak song on here. I don't think there's a weak moment on here. I don't think, like, her vocals are excellent. The lyrics are always compelling. Sometimes they might just be lyrics, they're poetic. There's a message probably to them, but they're not hitting you too hard. Some of the lyrics are really compelling. The music is absolutely fantastic. It's hook laden. There's dance grooves, there's post-punk grooves, there's krautrock grooves. The synths work great. If you're a Bjork fan and you generally like I'm thinking like the Bjork it reminds me of, it's not as extreme as this, is I can see the Homeogenic. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that vibe. Maybe, but I don't know. Maybe the Bjork comparison is not a one-to-one, but the vibe is very Bjorky at times. But yeah, I love this album. Absolutely amazing. Highly recommend you check it out. It is really good. Yeah. And I'm going to rank albums this year. So as we go along, it'll make my top 10 list at the end of the year better. Though not every album might necessarily be an album of the week. But that's what they look like so far. This is my favorite album of the year so far. It's eking out that Crocofant 6, which is an awesome prog jazz album. I've listened to this in more situations. I think this works in late night. This is a good chill album. Early morning, it's a good wake up and get your energy going. Driving, it's a good album. And then Bonnie Prince and Rose City, both excellent albums. I'm losing my voice right here. That's not good. But anyways, yeah, fantastic. Highly recommend it. Check it out. Let me know if you do. Let me know what you think of it. This is a winner of an album. My album of the week, Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Theory. They're self-titled for February 7th through February 13th. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Thanks for your time. Check this out. Peace. Talk to you later.